Hi everyone. Uh, Good evening for all. I'm Juliana Costa and I will moderate and discuss this panel session of this conference, which will be about international organizations and technical cooperation. Today we will have just one panelist, which will be Laerte Apolinário. He will discuss about the political economy of Brazilian technical cooperation, and everyone will be are invited to comment or uh, ask something for Laerte in our chat. Okay, I encourage everyone to discuss or to comment or to uh, have any question for Laerte to do this in our chat. Okay, I will be here to pass your questions for Laerte. One more time, I would like to thank this organization for this panel and all the compliments for Osmani and Miwa in the organization of this conference. And I would like to give you all a good time in this discussion, okay? Laerte, you have 15 minutes, okay?
Thank you, Juliana. May I begin? Do you can see the slides? So, hello everyone. My name is Laerte Polinario. I'm a professor of international relations at PUC São Paulo and a researcher at USP and Cebrap. Today, I'm going to present a paper entitled The Brazilian International Development Cooperation as a Foreign Policy Instrument, the Political Economy of Brazilian Technical Cooperation. So the research question that guided this analysis was, why a developing country provide international development cooperation? To answer this question, the proposal of this article was to analyze the Brazilian technical cooperation allocation patterns between 2003 and 2016, dialoguing with a specific branch of literature on foreign aid purposes. This specific literature was inaugurated on 1973 by McKinley and Little on their seminal work about the United States bilateral foreign aid allocation. So these authors have structured the discussion around two theoretical models. On the one hand, we have the donor's interest model, and on the other, the recipient's need model. The idea behind these models is that it would be possible to infer a country's purpose in providing foreign aid through the analysis of its allocation patterns. So, if it's true that a country provides international development cooperation thinking only in its own interests, we would expect to see the flows of foreign aid going to the countries where the donor has more pragmatic interests. But if it's true that a country provides IDC for ethical concerns, thinking on the well-being of the recipient, we would expect to see the flows going to the most needed countries. So, in other words, according to the donor's interest model, the amount of foreign aid received by a recipient is expected to be proportional to the donor's level of interest in that country. And according to the recipient's need model, the amount of foreign aid is expected to be proportional to the socioeconomic indicators of the recipient countries. So, based on these models, I analyzed the Brazilian technical cooperation allocation patterns. It's important to highlight that this literature has been mainly focused on the international development cooperation provided by the developed countries through their foreign aid activities. There is a lack of quantitative empirical studies analyzing the allocation patterns of the international development cooperation provided by developing countries through their South-South cooperation activities. So in this paper, I tested three research hypotheses derived from these models. The first two hypotheses derive from the donor's interest model, and the third hypothesis derives from the recipient's needs model. So on this slide, we can see the design of the research. On the right hand, we have the dependent variable of the research, that is the Brazilian technical cooperation flows. And on the left side of the image, we have the independent variables of the work. So regarding economic interests, I'm considering trade exports, trade imports, FDI, and subsidized loans. Concerning political interests, I'm analyzing the political support of the recipient countries regarding Brazil in different international organizations, such as the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the United Nations, and the United Nations General Assembly, and the WTO. It's missing here. Also, I'm considering a variable for the political orientation of the recipient government. This is an expected relationship by the literature. Also, during this period, there was a narrative, especially in the media, that the Brazilian government was helping left-wing governments around the world through its cooperation activities. So I try to see if the data supports this assertion. Also, I am considering two variables derived from the Brazilian Technical Cooperation Provision guidelines from the Brazilian Cooperation Agency that are a variable for the community of Portuguese language countries and a variable for the number of presidential travels for each country of the sample in each year. Regarding the recipient needs, I'm considering a variable for the level of socioeconomic development of the recipient countries, a variable for the democratic equality level of these countries, and a variable for the level of human rights protection. As for the research methods, I employed econometric analysis of panel data. So my sample has 290 countries between 2003 and 2016, containing a total of 2,926 observations. Here's the complete model with all the variables. And as for the estimation methods, first I ran panel or near least squares models. Then I ran panel corrector standard errors models. And finally, I ran system GMM from Arellano-Bonds family models. The idea was to see if the results were robust under different specifications. So here we have the results of the paper. It's a little bit difficult to see the values here because there are many variables and many models. But the idea is that first I tested each model separately, and then I tested all variables at once. So models 1, 2, and 3 refer to the economic interest model. Models 4, 5, and 6 refer to the political interest model. And models 7, 8, and 9 refer to the recipient's needs model. Finally, models 10, 11, and 12 are the complete models with all the variables. To read these results, to read this table, we have to look at two things. First is the sign of the coefficient. So if the coefficient is positive, that means that we have a positive relationship. If the coefficient is negative, that means that we have a negative relationship. The other thing that we have to look is the number of asterisks of each coefficient. If we have 3 asterisks, that means that we can have 99.9% of confidence in this result. If we have 2 asterisks, this result is statistically significant under a 99% of confidence. One asterisk, 95% of confidence. If there are any asterisks, so this relationship is not statistically significant. So it's easier to see these results visually. So here I present the marginal effects for each variable. Here I am considering the complete model. So these graphs refer to the models 10, 11, and 12, the models that contain all the variables. So the first point of the images always refers to the pooled ordinary least squares regressions. The second point always refers to the PCSE models. And the third point always refers to the system GMM model. So to understand these graphs, we have to see if the point is above the line or above zero or below zero. If it's above zero, that means that we have a positive relationship. If it's below zero, we have a negative relationship. Also, these graphs present the confidence interval of each estimation. So we have to see if this line is crossing zero. Because if it's crossing zero, that means that the result is undistinguishable from zero, or that there is not a statistically significant relationship. So understanding these results, the first graph refers only to the lag dependent variable. I added this variable on the equation to control for the temporal aspect of the data. I'm working on a panel data set, with a panel data set. But regarding the substantive results, and especially regarding the economic interest model, I found positive and significant results for the subside loan variable and for the trade exports variable. Regarding the political interest, I found that the political support regarding Brazil in some international organizations are statistically relevant in its relationship with the dependent variable, especially the support at IMF and the United Nations General Assembly. Also, as expected, I found that the CPLP variable is also positive and significant. Regarding the recipient needs, I found that the per capita income variable and the democratic equality variable are both significant. The per capita income variable is negative as expected, meaning that the poorer the country, more Brazilian technical cooperation he received during this period. And regarding the polity variable, the democratic equality variable, this result was unexpected because it's positive and significant, meaning that the most democratic countries received more Brazilian technical cooperation, all else equal. This is unexpected because there was also a narrative during this period that the Brazilian government was helping dictatorships around the world through its cooperation activities. And at least for the technical cooperation, this is not what the data shows. Also, it's interesting to highlight that the left variable, the variable for the political orientation of the recipient government, also didn't show statistical significance. So concluding, these preliminary results seem to be indication of economic and political interests in the allocation of Brazilian technical cooperation, but also they show that the poor countries with better institutions received more Brazilian technical cooperation, all else equal, during this period. So, in a sense, they seem to corroborate the narrative of mutual interest of South-South cooperation, as both the donors' interests as the recipient's needs are being contemplated. But it's important to highlight that all these results are based on statistical observations. So it's important to conduct more qualitative research to investigate further these correlations. And with this, I finish my presentation. Thank you all for your attention. Here's my mail if anyone wants to reach me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laerte. I will comment your paper. Before I comment your paper, I need to tell our audience that if you read our schedule, Melissa would be here, but yesterday or 2 days ago, she said that she will have today in our meeting time, she will have an important high-level political meeting that she was not able to postpone or to have in another time. Okay, so she make compliments about this, and so I need to tell all of our audience. Okay, one more time, I encourage everyone to comment or to send questions for Laerte. Today we have just one panelist, so it will be fruitful for us to discuss with more time than if we had another panelists or participants. Okay, so I encourage everyone to send questions. So I will comment your paper, Laerte. It's a good paper, and it's good for us in international relations to have this approach with statistic and regressions and this use. I need to say everyone that I knew Laerte's work. We worked together in our post graduation course. So we have interests that are the same or similars. Okay, so I knew about this research before he sent this paper. Okay, so it's a good paper, and it's a good approach for us in international relations and in development cooperation to use statistics. So it's a good way to see this kind of thing, and your model try to do things about uh, any variable that we need to think when we talk about development cooperation, because you made a model, okay, with donor's perspective and with recipient perspective. So because in the literature about foreign aid, they need and they think about this because we don't know why foreign aid is why countries donor do foreign aid, because if is to have support in their multilateral organizations demands, or if this kind of concern is after the support. So they support countries that are in the same side of them, if they are allied, or to conquer allies. So this is difficult to measure. It's a thing that they are trying to measure, if it's before the support, or as a gift for the support. So they are trying to measure this kind of things. So your model try to do this with other variables. So it's good because it's a complete model uh, to use this kind of things, not only the vote buying, that is another perspective for foreign aid. You are trying to make a model that is more complete. So I think it's better to use more variables. So it's good. I just try to when I read your paper, because we are saying we are trying to make a connection in this conference in between development cooperation and uh, policy diffusion. I just felt that you need to make a connection with these two kind of things. I don't know if you could think in a variable that uh, use or try to measure or try to feel or to know about the extension of policy diffusion of technical cooperation. It will be uh, a good try or to do this, and to make a connection between this literature of donors and recipients perspective with policy diffusion literature. So just it's a thing to think about it when you make some things in your paper to publication. Okay, in our book, if you are interested in this, just to make a connection of this perspective with the policy diffusion literature. But your results are so good. I think you explain your variables, you explained your model and how you designed your model. But for for the book and for readers, I have I knew the statistic perspective. For me, it's okay, and I understood your paper. But for people that are not used to statistic model and this, I think you could use more simple way to explain your results. So would be more easier for it would be sorry would be easier for people that are not used to know about this kind of methods, to know and to understand what you are trying to say, and to all the relationships that you made. So it's good for you. After all this general comments, I would like to comment about your hypothesis, and your research hypothesis. So it's all your variables are good. So you made about economic interested, political, diplomatic interested, and the recipient needs. So when you made your research hypothesis, I think you need to think better. So for another paper and for another research about what is the recipient needs. Not only I think it's difficult to measure this kind of thing, but the learning process, because in the literature of development cooperation, one thing that we trying to measure and trying to think about it, it's the learning project, the learning variable. If countries that are doing projects, development cooperation projects, had a learning process, and if they learned something, and how is this kind of process? I know this is a difficult thing to measure, but we need to try to think about it in our models. So, like we are saying here in policy diffusion, I think we could try to make and to think about it something. If the political or the public policy was designed, or if they were this public policy was accepted and was added to the government action, and some things about it. I don't know accurately about this, but this is a thing that we are trying in our thinking about development cooperation, about this learning process. It's difficult to measure this in a statistic model, I know that, but I giving you a challenge for this, to think about this learning project, this learning process. And because another thing is Brazilian cooperation. It's technical cooperation, and it's based on development, capacity development. So Brazilian don't have a huge amount of money to use in foreign aid or cooperation. So our cooperation is different from cooperation of United States or developed countries and then northern countries. So, and even with another southern countries like China, for example. So our model of technical cooperation is based on capacity development. And I think it's good for us and for you to think about this, about this difference, not the similarity with northern countries, but the difference. So how we can put and think about this in a quantitative way. If we can do this, I don't know. I'm trying and thinking about this, but this could be useful for us to think and to put these two things together, because this is the difference between Brazilian cooperation and other countries' cooperation. So this would be useful for us. I don't know how to do this, but could be useful to think about it when you see the perspective of uh, donors' perspective, that is Brazilian government, but the recipient needs, that what our Brazilian technical cooperation discourse is about, the learning process. It's about to developing capacities, and how this uh, is made are made, how this thing is made. So I think it could be useful. But your variables for recipient needs are good. I don't know, I just telling you to add another variable, or think about another variable, not to uh, about the variable you use it. So I think for me it's a good way to see. And I think that you concluded things that is important, that Brazilian technical cooperation are uh, not like all cooperation are made and are driven with with driven by economic and political interests. So you indicated this in your paper. So we are proved this kind of affirmative and of this hypothesis. So it's good to see, and that technical cooperation flows have has a correlation with financial and trade exports. So these two things are together for our country. And in our Brazilian foreign policy discourse, and authors and all this the analysts uh, see and tell us about it, that Brazilian technical cooperation are related to trade. So you prove that. So it's good. It's a good thing uh, for us to think about it. And another, that the political support is another interested. Is this is a thing that we try to measure in our model, like I was saying about the voting buying literature. So it's a correlation between this kind of things. So it's you are saying that are mutual interested in South-South cooperation projects. So it's good. So now with your final phrase in your presentation, that the necessity of conducting qualitative research. So the qualitative research could be this learning process. And this policy diffusion process, if the public policy that are in the project are being would be accepted and would be in the government projects, and the way the government, the recipient government, uh, use it to think and use it to act. And another thing that could be useful, I think you this obvious, the period that you use was 2003 and 2016. So I think could be useful to know if now all of us is uh, thinking about this. And I give you the question with this, of how you think this. I know you didn't put in your model this period, but what change? What are the changes in these variables and in this kind of perspective nowadays? Because we know that technical cooperation and the discourse of South-South relations is losing the importance in our foreign policy, even in since Dilma's government. But the this is more is stronger since Temer's government, and now in Bolsonaro's government. The South-South perspective is not in the government foreign policy interests. So what do you think about this model today? Because we know that the projects, the cooperation projects, is still going on, not in in the same amount, but it's still going on. But what do you think about these variables are going today? What is their perspective and their profile in these days? So I think this could be useful for us to because what I am trying to tell you, because we in South-South cooperation, and we that here in Brazil that analyze South-South cooperation, we are, me too, so what can I say? We think just in the Lula's government perspective, with the boom of our South-South cooperation, but now we are in a different moment, and we need to think about it and how this affected South-South cooperation, policy diffusion, Brazilian policy diffusion, and this profile. We are in a different moment now. So this is a question for you, not and for a hint for you to think about it in your next research about this moment, about how these variables profile today, not just not today, but in this from 2016 to nowadays. So I think this is a good thing for us to hear from you. So I think this is my comments, and we can discuss about it. What do you think about this perspective of Bolsonaro's and the use and now of the South-South cooperation as an instrument of foreign policy? I think this disappeared in our foreign policy interests. So our cooperation now are made mostly with another or southern or northern countries, or with international organizations, what we called here in Brazil trilateral cooperation. So this is a different moment for us, and I think this it could be useful for us to have a wider perspective about Brazilian cooperation, not only uh, with the moment of the boom of Brazilian South-South cooperation. So one more time, I would like to encourage all of you to comment or to make questions for Laerte, and to discuss this perspective that I put here. Laerte, what do you want to comment about my comments? Feel free.
Juliana, thank you for your comments and for your careful reading of the work. As a professor of mine, like you to put, the best kind of comments are the one that give you new research ideas. And I think your comments give me a lot of ideas for new papers derived from this research. I'll try to comment first the first part of your speech, then the second part. So regarding the first comments about the design of the work, the variables, the models, and the ideas for new papers, I would like to thank you a lot, because truly give me new avenues to pursue after this work. This specific paper is under review right now in a journal, but I don't know yet if it's going to be accepted. So I'm waiting for the comments to see what they thought about the design and the results and all that. So I first waiting this feedback to see if I'll have to do major changes in the work to send to another place to try to publish, or if they are going to publish the way that it is, or if I'll have to do only minor changes and all that. Uh, I didn't mention during my presentation, but this paper is derived from my PhD thesis. So this is basically a chapter now of the thesis, where I quantitatively analyzed the Brazilian technical cooperation flows. So now I'm a kind of at crossroads, research crossroads, because I started a postdoctorate last year at Cebrap, and now I'm continuing this research agenda. I was in doubt if I would specify the analysis further regarding the Brazilian cooperation projects, doing more qualitative work, or if I would open the research agenda to analyze the IDC regime in a more broad way. So at the postdoc, the postdoc right now, I'm finishing a paper on the institutional changes of the IDC regime. So right now I'm dialoguing more with a specific literature about institutional changes. But after that, I want to come back to this specific research agenda on Brazilian technical cooperation, and to follow the paths that I left open in this work, especially analyzing the specific some specific project, and trying to do some kind of mixed methods analysis, combining the statistical analysis with the qualitative analysis. To be totally honest, this was the initial research idea when I started the PhD. My research project contained a mixed methods analysis where I would do first this statistical thing, and after that I would analyze one or two cases in a qualitative way. But I started working during my PhD, so I didn't have time to do the second part of the work. So I finished it with just the quantitative analysis. But right now, I want to do this, as I said, the continuation of this work. And as you said, there are a lot of avenues in this field. You said you did some comments about the causal inference about these relationships, and I totally agree with you. I think that specify causal mechanisms and causal relations, it's a very complicated thing, not only on social sciences, but in all science, in all areas, as we are seeing right now. I totally agree with that. I don't think that statistical correlation it's equivalent to causal inference. The idea of this paper was to see if the flows are correlated, like if the Brazilian technical cooperation flows are going to the countries where other economic variables and political variables are present too. So I'm just trying to see these correlations, but I'm very cautious in doing strong assertions about causation or about causality. But what you said about analyzing the capacity and the learning transfer process, they are very interesting ideas. I think, and especially doing this through quantitative methods, now, because it's not very common in this literature. I'll think about that for sure. Maybe doing some collaborations now with people that are more inserted in this field and know more this literature, so I could add a different view to these issues. But related to your comment, it's important to state, as you said, Brazil does not give money to countries. The technical operation is not a blank check or cash flows to the recipient countries. They are cooperation projects that, in general, involves the transfer of knowledge, of practice. So the operationalization of my definite variable was a difficult thing to do, because I didn't want to only to use a limited dependent variable of the number of countries. I wanted to capture the dimension of this project. And the way that I did that was to analyzing the expenditures by the Brazilian government for each project for in each country in each year of the sample. So I got the data from the Brazilian Cooperation Agency in 2016. So I am answering why this is the size, the temporal, why I use this temporal dimension of the in the analysis. Uh, the natural continuation of this work, it would be to analyze it would be applied to apply the same models in the more recent trends of Brazilian technical cooperation. I already thought in doing that. I needed the data first. I remember that to get this data in that period was a very difficult thing because the Brazilian Cooperation Agency, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other Brazilian agencies, they didn't publish these results, this data to the broader public. So it was I remember that there was an event about Brazilian Development Cooperation in IRI at USP, sorry, and there are some people from ABC, and there were some people from IPEA, and I talked to them in the coffee break and asked for the data, and they said they would send me. And after that, my orienter, Janino Nuki, sent an email to them asking for the data, and they sent me so they sent me an Excel file containing all projects, all Brazilian technical cooperation projects between 2000 and 2016, containing the total expenditure by each project. So first, I divided them in bilateral and multilateral cooperation projects. So in this work, I am analyzing only the bilateral projects. So the first thing I had to do was to manipulating the data, was to sum all the values by each country in each year. And after that, I merged this data set with my complete data set with all the other variables. And so I could do this analysis. So it's in my plans to try to contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Brazilian Cooperation Agency to see if they send me the new data, the data from 2016 to 2020. I think it would be a good temporal dimension to analyze these trends. No? And I think it would be a very interesting research, because when we see these works that analyze the allocation patterns of cooperation from other countries, they have a much wider temporal dimension. So they can do different analyses, including analyzing the difference between periods, between governments. And we can't do that yet regarding Brazilian cooperation. And as you said, since Dilma, there was a decrease in expenses and the number of new South-South cooperation initiatives, especially after Dilma, in the Michel Temer's government, there was a significant reduction of resources for South-South cooperation in general and for Brazilian technical cooperation in specific. In addition, budget cuts in important public institutions such as the Brazilian Cooperation Agency and Fiocruz, as we know, have aggravated the situation of the Brazilian technical cooperation policy. Besides, Temer's government guidelines no longer prioritized the place of Global South in the Brazilian policy. To add on that, the institutional crisis established in the country, the discontinuation of the leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the recent change of, especially after the recent change of government after 2018 elections, with the new president, Jair Bolsonaro, a far right-wing politician, as we know, that have constantly attacked the previous Brazilian government foreign policy guidelines, especially in relation to the cooperation projects regard towards southern countries. So it would be a interesting paper. I'll see if I can get this data if they send me, because it's not available to the general public. So if they send me, I will certainly do this. That's a very interesting idea. So I think with this, I kind of answered your question about the new perspectives and what I think about the recent change. I didn't analyze the data yet. I don't have this data, but at least the narrative, and even in Michel Temer's government, I remember listening to some of the José Serra's speech, and the pragmatic character of the Brazilian cooperation became much more highlighted. I think during Lula years, it was more a subtle thing. We are doing it for third world solidarity, for South-South solidarity, doing it different from the traditional donors and all that. So, as you said, this kind of framework and research was more, I don't know if relevant is the word, but certainly it was more of a hot team during that period than now. But yes, it would be very interesting to analyze these different patterns. What I could do with this data was to analyze the patterns before Lula, like analyzing it from 2000 to 2002. But there are so few observations. I think there was it would not be comparable, and it would not be possible to do an interesting statistical analysis analyzing only these periods. But after 2016, for sure, it would be very interesting. So, as you said, I have many avenues to follow from here, especially now that I'm doing a postdoctorate at Cebrap, and I want to continue researching in this field. And what I did until now was a paper comparing the IDC programs of developing countries, so analyze the different policies of the BRICS countries. And right now, as I said, I'm analyzing the recent changes in the IDC landscape, and I'm trying to dialogue with the literature on institutional changes. But there's a lot of good ideas here. I wish I could pursue them all. Right now at PUC São Paulo, I'm supervising some scientific initiations. So I'm trying to use my students to do some to study some issues in the IDC ICPDDC discussions. So I put one student to analyze the Chinese cooperation projects. I put another to analyze the the new multilateral development banks, especially the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. I put another student to analyze more specifically the 2013 30 agenda. And I wish I could study all these things at the same time, but that's not possible because it's a very big field. But I'll try to do my best on next year. I hope we can discuss other works on the following years, so I could think on your fruitful comments. So I'd like to thank you again, Juliana, for your comments. They were very good. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Laerte. Yeah, your comments made me think about all my research too. I'm specializing not only in academia but in articulação sul with the measurement of development cooperation, and we uh, studied for our for our research and for our projects the difference between the measurement of Brazilian and of Indian and Chinese cooperation, because one example, Brazil's don't agree and don't think financial cooperation it's technical cooperation. So we didn't put our expenditures in financial cooperation as Brazilian expenditures in expenses in international development cooperation. But India and China put financial cooperation in their amount of international development cooperation. So it's a huge difference, because loans and grants are a huge amount of Chinese and mostly Chinese cooperation. So it's a difference of this kind. So it's difficult for us in technical cooperation research, because mostly in to measure or to think about South-South cooperation projects, because we don't have a unique, like I said, technical cooperation measurement mechanism, like OECD have TOSD or have ODA. So we don't have this in South-South cooperation. So it's difficult for us to highlight these differences. But countries from South say that this is the good thing of South-South cooperation, the difference, not the similarities of South-South cooperation. And when we think about Brazil, and this is a thing that we always try to think about it, Cobrades method that you use it for your research, because you said you got the data from IPEA, so could be the data that they use it for Cobrades, that is the official mechanism to measure and to put data and to publish data of Brazilian South-South cooperation. They have a difficult, and like we in Articulação Sul, when we made a project to measure and to know the expenditures of Brazilian South-South cooperation, not using the data from Cobrades, but using the data from CIOP, that is a system of Brazilian government where they put all the expenditures in all their projects, not only with South-South corporations, and with the budget of these expenditures. So it is difficult to see many things that is not accountable in Brazilian South-South cooperation, like technical hours, because the amount of Brazilian South-South cooperation is what is to send some public servants to other southern countries and to share our knowledge and our public policy for them to put this in their government projects. So it is difficult to measure this, to measure this profile and this thing. We use technical hours, when we put the hours that this public servant was in that country. So this could be in a kind of measure for us. And if nowadays they are sending the data, I'm doing like you, I'm using my students at Unifesp to make some research, and they are sending data using the information law access. And I give some I have some data from the foreign ministry and with ABC, because I'm making a project about Brazilian cooperation during the COVID, what we did or what we donor and what we receive. So they send me the data. So I think you could use the information access law to do your research in your future perspective. So it's good. Natalia is making a question for you, Laerte, but I think I already answered, but I think let me see if it's correct. How do you get all data from to do your research? I think not only the Brazilian technical cooperation data, but the other ones.
Thank you very much again, Juliana. First, I would like to congratulate you and all the team of Articulação Sul for the work that you made on the publications about the Brazilian cooperation expenditures. To us, it was a very interesting and rich work. The idea of using the COF system was an excellent one. Someone suggested me doing that before you did, like on 2013, 14. And I thought at the time, okay, I'll do it. But when I started to see the system and to use it, I knew that there no way I could do it alone by myself. It would be in a team of researchers, so I left the idea aside. But it was very pleasant to see the work that you have done on all the publications. In my PhD thesis, in one chapter, I discussed all the conceptualization and different operationalizations of the Brazilian IDC and the Brazilian Technical Cooperation, using mainly your work and the work of Articulação Sul in general as a model, as a base. And as you said, I think that the biggest difficulty in analyzing the Brazilian cooperation in a quantitative way is getting the data, because we know that all this data is not very easy to get, and it's not very transparent and publicized. So it's not easy. And when we can get these data sets finished from other workers or from agents, it's much easier. No? So I will try to get this data that you mentioned. I sent email to the Articulação Sul team, so to see if you can share your data sets to see what I can do. So I can test these models and new models under on different data sets. I think that's important to see if the results are stable or are robust under not only under different specifications, but also on different data sets. Regarding the question about how I got all this data, I had to use different data sets. Now, there was not a unified system, statistical systems, where I can put all the variables that I want, all the years that I want, and to do it for me, at this instantly. I'll have to do it manually. I have to get the data from different sources. So as I said, the Brazilian Technical Cooperation data I got from the ABC, and I had to work on the data so I could merge it to my other data sets. The economic variable, the per capita income variable, I got from the World Development Indicators, from the World Bank. Trade exports and trading parts, I got from the Comtrade, the United Nations database on international trade. The FDI flows I got from the central bank website, the Brazilian Central Bank. The subsidized loans I got from the BNDES, the Brazilian National Development website. I was very lucky to get this data, because it was in 2016 and was the first time that they made this data available to the public. In the previous years, I had sent mails to them asking for this data, and I couldn't get it, and so I was very happy when they became available, so I could use them on my research. Regarding the political interests, the IMF and the World Bank variables were operationalized as the political support regarding Brazil in this organization. So I looked for the executive board of both organizations. So we know that the executive board is the main body, it's the main process decision process body of these organizations, where all the important decisions are made. They are composed of 24 seats. Only 8 countries have enough votes to indicate their own directors. The others has to combine their votes to elect one official that will act on the behalf of the coalition. So these elections happen every 2 years. So I looked for I looked in the website of these institutions in each year of the sample who are the countries that were in the Brazilian coalition. So that's what I did. Regarding the United Nations General Assembly, I used the data sets about the voting on this organization. It's from Eric Voigten. It's a famous data set. So he computed an indicator to represent the affinity score between two countries regarding the votings that are held in this organization. So I used this data set. It was one of the easiest ones to use because it was ready. I didn't have to do it manually. The leftist variable I got from the database of political institutions. So also it's a famous database used around the world. The CPLP variable, it's a dummy variable for the Portuguese speaking countries. The presidential trips variable I got from the reports from I think they are from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where they present the official Brazilian presidential travels made by each country at each year in the last years. I had to do it manually, so they were PDF files. I had to see where the Brazilian president, went in a specific year, and I had to sum by hand on my database. It was a very boring task, but I did it. Regarding the recipient needs, also I used famous data sets. So the socioeconomic development, as I said, I use the World Development Indicators from the World Bank. Regarding the democracy level, I use the Polity 4 database. That is a database it's an indicator that measures the democratic quality of a country. It ranges from -10 to +10. So it's a score of democratic quality. There's a lot of critics in the literature about this measure, but I use it. That's what we have in this work. And regarding the human rights protection level, I use the political terror scale database. That's also a very used database in researches around the world about human rights and human rights protection. So think with this, I passed through all the variables. Regarding the WTO variable that I forgot to put on my slide, I calculated a specific Rachel score regarding the coalitions that Brazil is part on the WTO discussions. So Brazil participates in 5 coalitions, if I'm not wrong, on the WTO. So the Mercosul, the G20, and etc. So if a country participates in all the coalitions that Brazil is part of, it's one. If it participates in 4 of these 5, it's the proportion. So that's what I did for all the countries of the sample. So I had to do it manually first, then I computed after using a software, statistics software. So this is how I got all this data. Thank you for asking. And just to stress that the data set is available to the public. If anyone wants the data, just mail me that I'll send the data without problem.
Thank you, Laerte. Anyone have any other comment or question for Laerte? No? So one more time, I would like Laerte for his presentation and the organization, the staff of this conference, in the person of Miwa and Osmani. They made a huge effort to make this conference happens in a digital way. We are in the middle of a pandemic, so they made a good job. And thanks for all our audience to be here and to hear from Laerte and from me. Thank you all, and have a good day for all. Bye bye.